Episode 108 of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where I have a fireside chat with national TV and radio star Jules Lund.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
G'day everyone, welcome back to Australia's favourite small business marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You are a motivated small business owner, and we are brought to you by the very good folk at Net Registry, who can get your online marketing sorted right out. Today, I want to talk nudity. I want to talk speaking from stage, not nude. I want to talk about you getting your own show. And then we're going to talk to Jules Lund, national TV and radio presenter, who's got his own show, has been on a few, and has got some wonderful tips to share with us about what it's like to have your own show and how you can make it a success. So let's get stuck into it. First and foremost, nudity. Welcome to everyone from the Flying Solo community, because that's where the nudity is happening. On December the 7th, let me just confirm that date, Friday, December 7th, they are going to be celebrating working from home with Work in the Nude Day. Yep, there it is, Work in the Nude Day. Small Business Big Marketing, we are going to get involved. I'm not exactly sure how, although obviously it involves getting down to the birthday suit. How else we do that and celebrate it, I'm not sure. Bit of discussion maybe on the Facebook can help bring that idea to life, but it's definitely happening. I'll put a link to Work in the Nude Day in the show notes of episode 108 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. I think it's a great day. I think it's a great idea, a great day. I think it's a great idea in the way it is. It's going to help celebrate the freedom of working from home. That's the whole idea behind it. Well done to the guys at Flying Solo for coming up with that. We've had National Porridge Day on the show before. We're just stepping it up or down or sideways, depending on how you look at it. Work in the Nude Day. Guys, netregistry.com.au will help you get your online marketing sorted. They've got some fantastic exclusive listener packages just for you. If you are a startup and just getting your website and hosting and email addresses and all that and your domain name all sorted out, get their $80 startup package. If you want a website refresh, they've got a package for that as well. And if you want to get found online for some keyword searches, they've got a package for that as well. So check it out. There's a banner on the homepage of smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, which will take you right through to those three packages. Thank you, Net Registry, for putting those together. Okay, I've got a listener question from Veronica Salvo. Veronica says, "Hello, Timbo. I hope you don't mind if I call you Timbo. Of course not. You can call me that. That's my name. Been listening to the show for over 2 years now. Absolutely love it. Thought it was time that I ask you a question. Do you think it is a good idea to start to speak from the stage as a marketing strategy?" Veronica, do I ever? Do I ever? In fact, I think it's such a good idea that I wrote about it in a blog post that I put up this week. The blog post is titled "A Letter to My Listeners Number 3, and you'll find it in the blog section of smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Here's why I think the whole speaking thing is such a wonderful marketing strategy. I'll give you 5 reasons. Number 1, it forces you to articulate your ideas. So when you've got to get up in front of a group of people and sell your business or sell your knowledge, it really forces you to articulate your ideas and get your message clear. And I reckon that's something we could all do with, a bit of that. Secondly, well, it adds a revenue stream to your business. Sometimes you get paid for speaking engagements. Other times, if you don't get paid for the speaking engagement, then you should get the opportunity to make an offer to pitch one of your products or services. So that's a good thing in itself. Once you're up on stage, Veronica, it positions you as an expert, rightly or wrongly. Once we cross that invisible line between the audience and the stage, you are the expert in the room and you have something to share. And that's a good thing as well, because as the expert, you can then, it then generally attracts other opportunities. And that's another thing. That's the fourth thing I love about the whole speaking from stage as a marketing strategy. It does create opportunities, opportunities that you may never have even planned for. More speaking gigs, travel, media coverage, just to name a few. So, and then my fifth reason that I think speaking from stage is such a good thing is it actually generates business. That's a good thing in itself. It generates new clients. Generally when I hop off a stage, someone, if not a number of people, will come up and say, hey, I really enjoyed what you had to say. How can we work with you? What can you do for my business? So some pretty compelling reasons to add that bow to your marketing strategy. Now, I'm not so dumb as to think that it's not a scary strategy. We're all scared of public speaking. Yeah, but gee, learn, train yourself, read a book, do a course. I think it's a really good thing to do. Not only does it teach you to speak in public, it builds your confidence. And there's a whole lot of other spin-offs from learning that skill. So do it. And, when you get asked to give that speech at your best friend's wedding, you will be in the box seat ready to do it. Just don't pitch something at the end at the wedding thing. It's probably not appropriate. But hey, Veronica, thank you so much for that question. I think it's a great question, and I really, really encourage you to find a stage near you and just do it. Chambers of commerce, charities, even start your own event. And by the way, it could be a virtual stage, could be a webinar. It doesn't have to be a real stage. Get an opportunity to speak and start exploring those options. Okay. As you know, last week in the episode, I announced that I'd launched a business called Get Your Own Show. I strongly believe, there's never been a better time to market your small business. And I strongly believe that one of the best ways of marketing your business and becoming an opinion leader in your niche is by having your own show. I've proved it with my own business and it's been fantastic. I get a lot of people asking me how I've done it. So I put together getyourownshow.com.au. It's a 12-step process and you can read all about it on the website. I won't rattle on about it anymore. Suffice to say that if you ever thought of getting your own show, now is the time. Now, I interviewed Jules Lund, travel host from Getaway. He's got his own show with Fifi on the Oz Stereo Network, which is a radio network around Australia. Overseas listeners, Google Jules Lund, see who he is, what he's like, and then I don't know who to compare him to overseas, but he's a very popular personality in Australia with an audience definitely in the hundreds of thousands, if not the millions. Jules is an old mate of mine, and in this interview, we cover a whole lot of things about having your own show, where ideas come from, the importance of a clear concept, how to create content. He's got some great ways of how he goes about creating content, how he manages his relationship with his co-host Fifi and the importance of that, how to get over microphone intimidation. He talks about that. Got a great little tip on that one and a whole lot more. Jules was so kind to give up his time to do this interview. There's some marketing gold about to be shared. So get that pen and paper at the ready and I'll see you on the other side. Here's Jules. Julian, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been a while since I've been called Julian.
Well, that is your name.
Yeah, you sometimes call me Julio.
Julio. Now, Julio, what I want to get from this, so the person listening to this, small business owner, very keen to get their own show, and you're a fellow who's had their own show. Okay, go into that space. You see the small business owner?
Yeah.
Quite attractive.
Wow. What sort of business?
Yeah.
Bikini?
Chiropractor. No, chiropractic dentist. No, bikini shop.
And so why would a chiropractor or a dentist create their own show?
There's an excellent question. So there's a lot of reasons to be a key person of influence in their industry.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievably good marketing channel.
Yep.
Highly effective. It positions you as an opinion leader.
Yeah.
Google love rich content. So you can write and you can run ads and you can blog and do all that type of stuff. But actually having your own show is rich content. Google rewards you for that.
Personal trainers figured that out a while ago, and they become industry leaders just by producing their own stuff and sending it out into the world. And I know chefs did a lot of that, and that's why they become superstars.
So what we're seeing this massive movement, and we met a bloke in the lift coming up, social media guy, seeing a massive movement from being this push marketer where you push advertising messages onto people to becoming a pull marketer, which is where you create really good quality content like we are now, and share it with people, help them make a purchase decision, engage them, emotionally engage them with what it is that you've got to sell. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Cool.
Okay.
I like that.
God,
so tell me, you've had how many shows have you had? And we'll talk radio here.
Okay, radio shows. Do you mean like each day is a show?
No,
or
two different shows. How many?
Okay, well, I started off when I was 22 and you helped me on that, which was Dash Radio, and that was sort of born out of the work that I did with the Reach Foundation. I was 22 and I'd worked with Reach for 7 years, running workshops out in secondary schools, and I loved the work that we did and a lot of the universal messages that we got to share. I just felt it didn't reach a big enough audience. So I had an opportunity at a radio station to do a late night show, and we interviewed successful individuals from around the world in any different area, whether it was an entrepreneur or Jesse Martin, the adventurer, or Mandy Moore, a pop star, and broke down their life journey to explore not just what they've achieved, but how. And I wanted to uncover that for young people because I felt that their idea of a mentor was being distorted when you had Pepsi shoving Britney Spears in your face and then her going mad, etc. I think, when you talk about it takes a village to raise a child, I thought that our global village had broken down and people were struggling to connect with mentors, and, whether they did it, you used to do it in Scouts, you used to do it around your local community. I figure as the world got bigger, that got lost. So I was trying to put mentors in front of their face and give them an opportunity to call in and ask.
So Dash, you know how much I loved. I continue to love the concept of Dash and that tagline, the 2 dates on your tombstone aren't as important as the dash in between. I mean, I love everything about that concept. Tell me about coming up. You came up with that concept from scratch. So is it something, was it a big process, or was it just something, you know what, that's a no-brainer, let's bring it to life? Well,
I've always been passionate about making the most of life, and I always thought that that to break down those tools and those skills was a rarity, and you didn't often see it. And at that age, I didn't read, and I still don't read books. Like, I needed a different way to digest it.
Can you read, or is it?
Yeah, I can read. Right. I just don't like it. I find it very hard.
Better to talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or watch.
But that's interesting in itself. I mean, the whole reason I love shows, and when we talk shows, we're talking podcast radio shows. They're so digestible. You don't have to sit and focus. You can be doing stuff. The amount of people that ring me or contact me and say, listen to you when I'm all hot and sweaty. I know they're at the gym, unfortunately. So
I hope.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like the podcasts that I listen to be honest, I'm not active enough, but I listen on aeroplanes and I listen into their channels when they talk about the business channel, etc. And I get a lot out of that for that reason. But also, oops, sorry, that's my phone.
Yeah. Big tip. You always turn your phone off when you're doing a show.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. But to get back to your question, how did I come up with the concept of Dash? Yeah. I'd always been interested in the life journey, and it just seemed like a really good metaphor and a banner to put that under. And I was at a funeral, and they talked about this poem about doesn't matter at the end of your life, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how you spend your life and how you spend your dash. And so it was just a great metaphor for a lifetime, and I wanted people to make the most of that, so hence Dash.
Okay, so lesson number one, listeners, is for them to identify your passion, because a major part of the process that I work with people on Get Your Own Show is to say, okay, well, we know why you want your show. We've identified the reason. Yeah. What it's about is clearly led by what really
absolutely
sets you on fire.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You don't have to. The beauty of having and getting your own show is that you create anything you want. You don't have to suit someone else's parameters. It doesn't necessarily have to be commercial. It doesn't have to tick all these boxes for a demo. It's just you and your expression out into the world, and that is the quickest way to build it, and they will come. That's the quickest way to engage people and get people on board is with passion, because it's that sense of magic that really strikes a chord with someone. It's like, the Naked Chef, Jamie Oliver, when he started, that was just pure passion that you watched on TV, and he's built an empire, and
he's maintained that passion.
Yeah. Yeah, and he hasn't gone out there to try and, make all this money. He started with something very small, and because he was passionate, it transcended, far greater to just, that basic cable show.
You know, with Dash, and like, I want to just continue on the other shows that you've had. I'm not sure how many there are, but that whole concept of, I call it the spine. You know, like with Dash, the Dash was all about the 2 dates on your tombstone, aren't as important as the dash in between. You find public figures and sort of go deep into what inspires them, what drives them in life. And that drove everything about that show. The segments you had, the people that you interviewed, the questions you asked. What's the question there? It's about, like, how do you identify the spine, or what do you call that? Do you call it a spine or the theme, or?
I think you need a concept. Passion is great, but, you know, like, and I speak to a lot of different people, even, you know, when people come to me and say, I want to get into TV, and I say, oh, what's your point of difference? What is that you want to get across? Because, okay, you're a wildlife, you want to do wildlife documentaries. All right, what sets you apart from everyone else? And you do need a concept. It needs to be easily digestible. And unfortunately, the things that travel, the messages in a bottle are headlines. Yep. And Dash is a headline. It's an easy, digestible concept. And so I said to, you know, like, we were trying to break down how would he narrow his passion, and then let's just go with the 7 deadly sins, for instance, you know, in the animal world. Yeah, right. So it's like, all right, let's go and do the first doco is on greed, the next one is on gluttony, and, you know, something that helps people access it in a very understandable way. It's got to be bite-sized, it's got to be small, and it's got to be a hook. And, you know, the more sensational that it is, you know, the better, the more unique it is that cuts through. And all those people that I look at and have managed to start small and get cut through are like the Bear Grylls, you know. Yep. These people that have a very unique niche. Don't be afraid of niche.
I love niche, and podcast allows niche. I mean, let's talk about your commercial radio career, where that's harder to niche, because you've got that is true broadcasting, whereas podcasting is in a sense narrowcasting, although albeit you can have a global audience. It allows you to you could choose the micronest of niches and you will have an audience in a podcast. So let's talk commercial radio. You've got another show that you've got now is Fifi and Jules, which is incredibly broad appeal, yeah? So what's the spine of a show that broad? Is it just to be funny, or is it?
No.
What is it?
Well, it's certainly not to be funny, because it's not a comedy show. To be fun is something we aim for. The spine, I suppose, has to be Fifi and I. It's that relationship. It's the chemistry. It's that sort of that. Unattained. I mean, it's like, I mean, the best way to describe it, that's why it's hard. We sort of say it's a brother-sister, you know, we niggle and we, you know, it's done with love. We challenge each other. We're competitive.
Do you ever pin her down and give her the typewriter?
No, but I've tried the nipple cripple, but legals have stepped in. Yeah. So it's difficult. You know, even after 2 years, we're still trying to find out what that spine is in itself.
Then how do you pitch something like that up front?
Well, you don't.
Two people who get along really well and have a laugh, and we think we can entertain others.
Look, in the way that we got involved was we've been friends for years, and you know, Hamish and Andy were leaving the spot. There was a big hole there. No one wanted to step in.
Find two more friends.
Well, it was
that's
just
what they were.
Yeah, it was. You know, in many ways we were lamb to slaughter. Like, we were terrified, and you know, I said no to it a few times because it was like they're too big a shoes to fill. But
So let's talk then about this whole concept of the co-host, because I know many people listening to this are going to go, well, I want my own show. I don't know whether I'm going to do it solo, just me to Mike. I don't know whether I'm going to bring in guests like I do with my show, where I just, you know, bounce off guests. I've had a co-host. I've seen the importance of actually having the co-host so that they're, A, you know your strengths and weaknesses each, and B, you bounce off each other really well. It's clearly what you and Fifi do.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, how do you nurture a co-host relationship? First question, how do you choose one?
Yeah.
And how do you nurture that relationship for the long term?
Well, I tell you what, it's a big question, because, you know, I would put as much energy into the relationship as I would into the content. You know, to have a co-host is a really big step for me. It's been my biggest vice. I've spent 15 years doing it my way, even with...
And you've got some big vices. So.
Yeah, I know. But even, with Getaway, I'm in control of my words.
Yep.
And I've always been that way. Every project that I've done, even producing, Jim Steins' documentary a couple of years ago, there's things that I'm involved in that I've put a lot of passion in, and it's sort of like it has to be my vision, and I drive it home. And that's how I'm used to working. And I push myself at a different pace, and I prepare it a different way, and I deliver in a different way. When I was matched up with Fief, and we came together, that's been the biggest thing the last couple of years, because the reasons why we work are the reasons why it's challenging. We come at things completely differently, and there's no right or wrong. It's just different.
And I just find that really hard.
Yeah.
You are a control freak, and you do incredible preparation. I want to talk to you about preparation in a minute. Whereas I don't know Fifi, but I'm guessing.
Oh, she's so naturally
she's everything
brilliant.
You're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Attractive, funny.
Yep.
But so that's interesting. But clearly that works, and it also would it work if you weren't mates beforehand? Would it have worked as well?
Oh, look, you have a commitment. It's like any relationship. Honestly, I have 2 wives. I go home and I have, the joy and pitfalls of having a wife at home, and the same at work,
Joy and pitfalls.
Yeah, there are. There's times where it's just, you've got to invest in it. It's like any relationship, and it doesn't come easily.
Okay, so you invest as much in the content as you do the relationship with your co-host.
Yeah.
How do you invest in a relationship with a co-host?
Okay, it's about trying to understand their needs, trying to really hear them out, trying to make them shine. Like that's really important to understand what makes them tick, what they enjoy. Well, it's basically to deliver things to them in a way that makes them shine. If we can go into every show going, I'm going to make this other person shine, then we're going to have a great show. It's not always easy, because sometimes you get in competitive things, and Fifi and I are like brother and sister. We're like, so it is a constant battle of going, okay, all right, what does she need now? And then, hoping that generosity comes back, which it always does.
So is that the idea, that kind of two-way relationship where, I remember working in a large advertising agency years ago, and my boss said, Timmy, your whole job is to make your client famous.
Yeah,
that was your job. Whatever you do, make your client famous. It's their idea. It's their everything, their result. So is that what you mean by shine with the co-host?
Yeah, look, it's in every moment, and whether it's celebrating her in social media, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. It isn't,
Oh, you're a nurturing type person.
Oh,
what do you mean at an ego level? Do you want that person to reciprocate, or you just find it hard to?
Well, it's
different. You were very loving towards me when you met me at the lift and said, hey, look at $1 million. You're good at that.
Yeah, I suppose I am, but it's just day to day. It takes energy.
It's
tiring, but it's you benefit from the joy and generosity that you get back, and I think that's really important. But it is a challenge for me, because I love to do things, and I have my own sort of criteria of how I've succeeded. That sense of pride usually has always come from me doing things on my own. Now, working part of a team, it's a unique beast, but it's been my greatest learning.
Do you have a conversation with whether it be with Fifi or any other co-host that you've had to work with on air, where you openly acknowledge, I'm good at this, you're good at that, you're not good at that, I am, and have a really open discussion? I know that I've had that with a past co-host, and it gets rid of the elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's liberating.
It is. It's like nudity.
Well, I'd prefer if you wore pants today.
You said this was a no pants interview. I'm a bit disappointed that I'm the only one.
Is there open acknowledgements? Oh, not really.
No.
I think we're still, to be honest, even after 2 years, I think we're still in the early stages of our relationship. Mm-hmm. I remember at the start of this, they said, it'll take you 18 months, 2 years to get the show. And we're now 2 years down, and I agree.
Yep.
We're still investing in it, and that's great. That's where our focus is. It's not external. It's about getting this right, getting meetings efficient, getting understanding what it makes each other tick and how to get the best out of each other, and that'll continue to evolve. I'm not as good at literature, and she's not as good as maths. But outside of that, we probably haven't acknowledged all those things yet.
Yeah.
I mean, there are. She's a brilliant improv, and I like to prepare more.
Okay, so let's talk content.
Yep.
Because content is everything. Obviously, having a great relationship with the and by the way, before we do talk content, have you done a show where it's just been you to Mike?
No.
Okay, so we can't really talk about that. You did it on Getaway, but that was more completely prepared, scripted. You had complete control. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there hasn't really been. I would be terrified of that.
Wow. Yeah.
Imagine you just start
rattling.
talking to yourself now. I'll just go quiet.
Well, sometimes, thank you, but sometimes I'm still talking to you. Sometimes I really enjoy just rattling. I need to be in the zone, and I need to actually meditate on it. If I'm going to do like a 10, 15, 20-minute piece to Mike, the first thing I do is imagine the person who is going to be most receptive to what I've got to say. You're going,
No, it's a brilliant strategy about knowing your audience, and I probably don't do it enough on this show. When I was learning to do TV presenting, the camera is a very intimidating thing.
Very.
And I think even for these guys creating their own show, the microphone will be an intimidating thing as well.
How do you get over that intimidation?
Well, it's exactly as you said. You just imagine someone who's warm and nurturing and accepting and non-judgmental of you is at the other end of the mic, and you imagine that individual. I imagined Joan Gordon, who's my godmother, and she's just, and she's just, when I was going through my classes, I just imagine that I'm talking to her through that ugly big black box.
Mate, it is so powerful. People who are listening to this won't have an audience yet, but they will have an ideal customer in mind, an ideal prospect. And I just encourage them to identify with that person, visualise. I mean, for me, I've even got it down. There is a real person in Melbourne that I have front of mind when I'm creating messages around my business. And I've chosen that person for a number of reasons, but it's because they get the best out of me and I get the best out of them. So interesting stuff. So let's talk then about, I want to talk content, and then I want to talk about interviewing. How do you choose what to put on the show?
Well, it's funny. That has been a long process for me to identify exactly what our demographic wants. And our show is a 31-year-old female. Bang on. That's our bullseye.
Name?
Don't know.
You have got a name, haven't you?
Well, my wife is, she's 30, or she's 32 now, but when I started, she was 31. So all of her friends, I would just imagine, but I wasn't all that active, I'll be honest. I haven't been active enough in that.
In what?
In actually visualising someone that I was talking to.
Okay.
Early on, I was going to actually get a photo of, a fake person of that age and put it on my folder.
You'd have a dream board somewhere, with an island and
it's funny,
Lamborghini.
I haven't done a lot of that stuff proactively in a while, but, I reckon the last time I did one of those drawings was 8 years ago.
Yep.
Or 10, longer, maybe 9 years ago, where I drew a picture of my life in 5 years' time, and everything equipped with everything. And I haven't achieved it all, but
still time.
Most of it, and that I've been working towards. But I haven't been cutting images out in magazines. But that stuff works.
Get me back onto content.
Okay, so content.
So how do you choose what to put on the show?
Well, it is stuff that I find in my life. And, our show, it could be either topical, so something that happens in the public arena that strikes a chord with us, but it's all passionate and personal. We don't get forced to talk about anything. It's only stuff that grabs us. And then there's silly things from life that people can relate to. So it's everything from something really big to something down, like Billy, my 2.5-year-old, that, we were all sitting watching TV, me, my wife and Billy just sat up and, let one rip in Anna's face. Yep. And she laughed, and then we lost it because it's never happened before. And then, I said, that's funny, that's really funny. And Anna then told her off and said, you can't do that because if you did that around Granny will actually yell at you.
Wow.
And so,
harsh Granny.
Yeah, so because it's so embarrassing and toilet humour doesn't go down well in the family. And so then we had a bit of a crossroads. Like the question is, are farts funny? Like, are they genuinely funny? Is it okay for them to be a humorous thing?
So stuff happens. Once again, the nature, and there's people listening from all around the world, so they're not necessarily going to know the show, but
it's a stupid show. It's like chewing gum for the mind.
There you go.
We talk, we interview big celebrities.
It's chewing gum for the mind. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
It's, I would say you'd be hard pressed to learn anything. It's a light relief at the end of the day.
Yep.
In the morning, you've got a lot of heavy stuff at times. It's really topical and, you're getting your teeth stuck into big issues and you go to work, but at the end of the day, you just want to hear some light relief. And our show, everything from big celebrities to just relatable stuff that happens in our life to bigger stunts and trying to live large with a big audience and having great adventures. So
how so Billy fart in Mum's face, funny.
It's stupid, silly, and we'll talk about it and then we move on.
So stuff like that happens all the time. How do you capture it? Do you literally, I'm literally a literal question here. Do you carry a notepad? Do you have a thing in your iPhone?
Well, to be honest, one of the things that I've been really active with over the last couple of years is recording stuff on my iPhone.
Yeah. I talk.
Yeah. Well, I just record.
Voice memo.
No, record the moment.
Yeah, right.
So if Anna's going off,
hang on, Billy, don't fart just yet.
But it could be any moment, whether it's, me putting $20 into a car park thing to pay for, a $2 car park ticket, and it gives me change in 10-cent coins, and it just keeps going ding, 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 ding. I'll just record it, and then.
But that would have, the money would have fallen. I'm being literal here, but the money would have fallen by the time you get your iPhone out.
I'm quick, and it's just
quick on the draw.
Yeah, and it's still recording. So there's moments if they're giving me an announcement over a PA on a plane because they're delayed, and that's why I'm late. That's my proof. I recorded, or this morning when Carl Stefanovic threw to Peter Stefanovic, and it was so odd because it sounded like Carl was just throwing to Carl.
Yeah.
Like I just rewinded on my IQ and recorded. So I get actuality as often as possible, and arguments and things that happen and stunts and tripping people up. If someone goes, I've got a great story, I'm already recording it before they've started the first line.
Do you seek permission to use it?
No.
Good on you.
No, I do. I do actually seek permission to use it, of course.
So when you don't get something real time.
I email it to myself, an idea. And I've got in my mail, I've got flagged ideas.
Yep.
And at any one time, I've got 20 stupid seed ideas that I then put into a document called Ideas Gold.
Yep.
And in that is, I don't know, it's probably 40 pages long, and there's things that I haven't developed, and I record every little thing. And so I can reflect it at different times.
So in terms of 40 pages of ideas there, what does the development process look like?
Well, I'll pitch it in at the meeting. A lot of the stuff is just really weird stuff. Like even the examples I've given you are quite weird. Sometimes they need fleshing out and building and combining with something else. But there's a lot of stuff that are just, they're just weird concepts that might be just better as a tweet, just a weird thing I thought of that may not be a conversation or a stunt.
Talk about guests, Jules. I've got a feeling the answer to this is, well, guests come your way. So it's not as if you go, I'd love to interview that person, so let's go after them. So is that fair?
Well, yeah, look, we try to get the most talked about celebrities on the planet every day. Mm-hmm. And but there's odd things where I'll read a tweet from HuffPost and I'll go to it and it's talking about a grown man and a convention for My Little Ponies. There's tens of thousands of people. Got to get him. Yeah, and I'll just go, they're called bronies, and the guys that dress up, because they love My Little Ponies, and I spoke to him. So
it's amazing how you can track people down, isn't it? It's not hard. Jack, my boy Jack, about 6 months ago, just on a Sunday, yelled out, Sunday morning, Dad, it's like something out of the film The Castle, Dad, do you know you can get a submarine down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean and check out the Titanic? No. And immediately I'm on Google going, who is selling that? You can.
I was going to do it for Things to Try Before You Die TV show. We were trying to get down there and scuba dive around the Titanic.
I literally got on Google, found the guy in LA who has a business called Bluefish who sells that package, And within that afternoon, that Sunday afternoon, he'd responded to my email, and I'd interviewed him that week. So
yeah, we see people on Ellen, just on the TV show, and we'll just go, let's speak to them, and then the next thing you know, we've contacted them.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And listeners, by the way, don't think, Jules has got a national show, so it opens doors. And yes, it does, but I don't have a national show, and it's still amazing who will say yes. People love to be interviewed, don't they, Jules?
They do. Look, I should be going back to my family. I'm only doing it as a favour. I mean, as fun as this has been, I'm just joking. But people do love being interviewed, especially if it's something that they're passionate about. Yeah. And something like the Titanic, that guy is proud as punch, and often the people that you choose are proud as punch.
Yep.
And if it gives them an opportunity to actually express that.
Correct. Let's talk about the interview. I want questions that work for you. Do you have a settling question? How do you approach an interview?
I think, look, I have been lazy with it because we move really fast.
Can you make up a good answer?
Yeah, of course I can give you, I know what I aim for, I just don't always practice it.
What do you aim for?
Well, I think the most important thing is to give them what they need first.
They, the guest?
Yeah, that settles them. So if you're asking, for instance, if you've invited someone in, like this dude who does the blue fin.
Yeah, Titanic tours.
Yeah, get him to explain how easy it is to be a part of it, and whatever you think is the reason that he's coming. I mean, a simpler example is a guy that's here to promote a film. You talk about the film first before you go off into their personal life.
So that's interesting because I remember that show, The Panel, years ago.
Yeah.
They used to have this strategy where they would ask so guy comes in to pitch his film on the TV show The Panel. He's expecting to be asked the question, tell us about the film first up. The actual question is something completely unrelated that they've researched about his life to settle him in, not to catch him out, to settle him into a conversation. So obviously there's no one way. Well, you like going straight into why they're here, yeah?
Yeah, but that's not always the most entertaining part. That's not exactly what we need out of the interview. So sometimes we'll cut that out.
No, just see him walked up though.
No, but it really is. That's an important thing. And then also, we play games and stunts, and try to get them, to get something fresh out of them rather than just the really usual promo tour answers about their upcoming tour or their single, etc. So, we try to come from a different angle. One of the major things that we do as a show is try to bring them into our world. We find that you get a lot of good out of them. So, for instance, it might be the fact that Byron, who's our anchor, has borrowed Fifi's car because she doesn't need it anymore, and he's had it for 6 months, and then the registration's up. Now he doesn't want to pay for that, so he's trying to give it back in time. So it might be something as silly as that we might ask a Flow Rider or Lady Gaga. Right. So
what's their opinion?
Yeah, like we might just go. I mean, you've got to link it. You can't just. But all of a sudden they're in a conversation. They're disarmed because it's not about their personal life.
So I love that.
And the other thing is keeping them high status. I think in preparation for them and to try to really make them give you the best and to make them shine is actually go to a bit of trouble for them. If you can impress them, not only with your research, which is always the stuff that, Andrew Denton was able to do in his interviews, he would impress people with the level of detail and that they were fresh questions, and that's a really important thing. But also going to trouble, maybe doing an introduction that's really impressive. So, if we had a concept like Justin Bieber, he was in here the other day. Fifi appeared in his first film just a little bit. They grabbed a grab off her on Sunrise going, it's pandemonium here. So we talked about the fact that, for her next film, maybe they should, co-host it and, this time, she's going to come up with a concept. So we put a sketch together that goes for 30 seconds or something. It doesn't take an enormous amount of effort, but he's sitting back going, God, you guys have gone to a lot of effort for me. Yep. And that appreciation always leads to a more engaged and open guest.
I love the whole concept of disarming. So, but whilst, someone who's looking to get their own show may not be able to go and create a 30-second sketch that's going to put a smile on the dial of the guest.
But the intro, just reading an intro that makes them feel celebrated.
Yeah. But even disarming and just getting a conversation happening, because it's always hard. I just find jumping into an interview cold is the hardest thing. But if you can get a conversation going, and it just seems so much easier.
And I reckon one of the most important things is having an attitude for gratitude. If you're starting your own show, just really appreciating them. And I know this is, it's about sending them that bottle of wine or that flowers or whatever afterwards. It's Pinot Noir. It's no, yeah,
You're more a rosé guy, I would have thought.
piss off. But it's actually having that attitude. That's when people feel like they want to give you more, and that can happen before the interview as well. It's just when you're meeting them and you're making it easy for them, and you're going, seriously, before you sit down, thank you so much, because you've got a busy life and you're sitting down with me and we're having a chat, and I don't take that lightly, and maybe having the gift up front or something. When people feel appreciated that you take their time seriously, they'll give you all the time they've got.
Do you have a list of questions when you interview someone? Oh, you've done your research. I know how deep you go in your research, but do you have, like I have here, a list of questions, or do you just go, I think I know where I'm going to take this?
No, a bit of both. Now that I've got a co-host, it's so much more comfortable. I've got so much more breathing room, so I actually have the presence of mind to think of the next thing.
Yep.
When I'm by myself, absolutely, I'll know those questions really well. And back in the days when I was by myself, I could almost answer the questions that I was asking them. I'd done so much research. I think one of the good things to do is to get online and see what other things they've done, understand their manner, so you don't get jolted. I find that if you're interviewing actors that you've never, like a Vince Vaughn or a Jonah Hill, for instance, you see them acting, or you see these people in the media, maybe it's Aussie John that you're interviewing, but you sort of, it's really helpful to see if you can, Google them and just understand their flow, what they appreciate. And I always find that even though you're reading Wikipedia and doing research on people, they always give away some really great stuff in online videos that you can, pull bits out and expand. I always find that really helpful too.
Any particular questions that you, even though you don't have a list of questions, is there any particular questions that elicit a good response?
No, I don't have any real go-to questions. I don't mind shaking them up a little bit at times. I don't mind asking the questions that others won't. It often backfires because their PR people are protecting them and they can't believe that I'm going there. But I also go, I know you're a celebrity, but, like I'd ask someone, I'd muck her,
Yep. I know what you mean. Do you, at the end of the day, everyone's human, and I think you can sometimes freak yourself out when you've got an interview with someone who you think, oh my God, they're right up on a pedestal, but boy, oh boy, they're just human, and they probably love it. Most times they love the conversational nature of an interview as opposed to, some formal questions.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Mate, last question then is, any crazy story, any interview's just gone completely wrong, and what did you do about it?
Well, Jonah Hill, the actor from Superbad, and, he's a big portly bloke, and then, he lost weight and curly hair. He's in a lot of films. There was an interview where he just went he just cut sick at me, and I don't blame him. But he was promoting 21 Jump Street with Channing Tatum. So the two blokes there. Yep. And Fifi, she does Sunrise as well. So she had just interviewed them and they had all this fun. And they'd be talking about waxing her armpit or something. And then I came in and I was like the spare dick at a wedding. Like I was not needed. They had created all this rapport. Right. And so as I was trying...
Flirtatious rapport, or just had a lot of fun with Fifi? And
flirtatious. Yeah. The two boys were having a laugh and they were having...
Jules.
Yeah, in walks me because I had to do the radio show bit now and I was just not needed.
Right.
So every time I sort of cut in, they would just go... like it was in primary school again, and I couldn't get a word in. And they're laughing and they're going, oh, look at this guy, he's going to lose his job. And look, I don't care that much that you're a celebrity. If you're going to,
And 21 Jump Street, come on.
Well, it's a good film. It's a cracker.
First one or the second one?
No, this is the first. This is the only recent. This is the remake. Catch up. And so anyway.
So what'd you do?
Well, I just sat back for a while and realised, this is not working. So I just said, I've got something that'll shut you up. Last time you were out here, you pashed a friend of mine and never called her back, which is true. And he just went, stop dead. And then it was on.
Love it.
But I shut him up.
He bid back?
Yeah, he went hard.
You would have loved that.
Yeah, I liked it. It was great audio for us, but it in this industry, it's too small. That PR group, are reluctant. It's hard to get those guests.
So would you do that again?
Nah, probably not. Probably not. No, I probably would just bite my tongue. There's times I get a bit bored. To be honest, it's like. It can be a bit safe at times, and I don't mind shaking, it up. But I do realise that, the next time they're touring someone like Rihanna, it's the same PR company, and they don't feel comfortable bringing her to me because I'm
wild card.
Well, I shouldn't be, but I much prefer to. Anyway, it was a good interview. It was better than the others.
It's a great. What do you do then on the other hand, where? Because listening to their past interviews is a good thing, because sometimes you go, my God, these people aren't good talent for an interview. What do you do when you get a guest that is just not giving?
Well, keeping in mind, look, it's different on the movie promo trail.
They've got to give.
No, they hate it. They drag their feet in. They're stuck in a seat for 2 days, and people just come through asking the exact same questions, and they just hate it. So, and you get that often. They don't care about the They did the movie 2 years ago. They've moved on. They're probably pissed off with the director. They're sick of it. But it's contractually obliged, but, they don't. So in many ways, you've just got to do your best.
Roll with the punches.
Roll with the punches, ask questions, keep them high status. I think that's really important too. And I didn't really do that with Jonah, but keeping them high status is important. They much prefer it. If they feel like you're trying to get into their personal life, then they'll clam up pretty quick, and then you're stuffed. But that's the whole thing about giving them what they need first. Just thinking about what do they need here. If they're sick of hearing the same question, well, it's not going to help them by getting them to explain it again.
Julian, you're an inspirational fellow. What would you say to the person listening to this who is like champing at the bit to get their own show? What advice would you give them to finish on?
Pinot Noir. No.
You said rosé. I said rosé.
No, look, I think this stuff, it's all experimental. You can't go wrong, but you've really got to have a crack at it. I would be really keen on identifying your passions, what defines you as having a point of difference in the marketplace. You can't be someone else because, they're already taken. So being really clear on what it is that you've got to offer and backing that, knowing that is actually unique, and then just practice makes perfect. Hearing your own voice back is going to terrorize you for the first time. It sounds disgusting. For all of us it did, but it's about breaking through that and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're trying something very different, and, just slow and steady, keep pushing yourself, and be proud of the practice.
Do you love audio or video more?
I don't know. It's the same to me.
What's the upside of audio? Because you've left a long TV career behind to do radio. What have you noticed is the upside?
Oh, it moves quick. Yeah, look, absolutely. We think of stuff in the moment and we do it. TV, it's a very different beast. I'll do a getaway story and it could go to air 12 months later, whereas we have an idea and we can do it 2 minutes later and then it's gone, and you get instant feedback from your listeners. And it's like the difference between, I suppose, working in live theatre versus acting on the silver screen. It's just that great feedback, and that is a great it's a great organic, natural and high energy environment, whereas TV and live TV is great, but the TV that I've done is a bit of put it in the can and roll it out, which I very rarely get to see.
You got a great head for radio.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Put your pants on.
Love your work. Well, what about that? That right there was Julian Lund, or Jules Lund as he's better known. If you ever were thinking of getting your own show, there is a mountain of tips in there that will help you succeed with doing it. If you want help with doing it, go over to getyourownshow.com.au. You will see the process that I take you through in helping you get there. If you sign up there, you can grab the copy of the Jules interview, which you've already got because you've listened to it, but you will also receive over the course of a series of emails from me interviews that I've done with other successful podcasters who have their own show, in which I interview them about what having their own show has done for their own personal brand and their own businesses. So it's a really interesting series, which I've started to do. Jules was the first interview on that. Lawrence Tam from the Wellness Guys is the second interview I've done on that, and I continue to put together interviews like that, the only place you're going to be able to access them is at getyourownshow.com.au by signing up there. So, hey, thanks for being a part of Small Business Big Marketing. I hope your marketing is the most fantastic marketing. Got lots of great guests coming up in the weeks ahead. If you want to come and have a bit of a chat with me, go to facebook.com/Small Business Big Marketing. I'm there every day posting funny bits and pieces around marketing and always love responding to what you got. So until next time, see ya.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.